Here's a text. There's one thing that has to be said. Caldwell is a better coach than Patricia. He very well may be. I mean, I'm not giving up on Matt Patricia just yet. I think it's pretty clear that the team decided that midway through the season they were going to rebuild. The Seattle loss is one that probably opened up some eyes. And over 8 days, 2018 ended and 2019 began, as far as the Lions season is concerned.
Well, it's strange because the week before they,
I know,
get Damon Harrison. But again, that's a move for the future. People think it's a move for now. It's actually a move for the future because he's here for the next couple of years. Trading away Golden Tate, that's obviously a move for the future because you're getting a draft pick in return. This Golden Tate doesn't play offensive line, right?
Yep.
The draft pick they gave up to acquire Damon Harrison, that draft pick doesn't play offensive line. I don't know what the hell happened yesterday with the breakdowns all over the place, but the Vikings were teeing off every opportunity they could. And, we talk about Jim Bob Cooter and is it time to move on? And I do think it's time to move on. Jamie brought up a good point in the show, in the morning show with Jamie and Stoney, and that is that the Lions continue to do the holdover routine with every coaching change or every change that they have with regime. Look what happened when they fired Millen. They held on to Mayhew. You fire Mayhew, and you're holding on to Jim Caldwell. You fire the offensive coordinator Lombardi at the time, and you promote a quarterbacks coach, and you make him the offensive coordinator. And then when the new coach comes in, he hangs on to the offensive coordinator. Everybody's held on to a vestige of the previous thing, and maybe it's time that you just break clean completely of it and move away from it. And with Jim Bob Cooter, I mean, I think it's run its course. Watching the running plays, and it even seems like the running plays take so damn long to develop.
Well, look, I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and try because I know people that are so predictable. I can predict the plays. Those are kind of the common calls that come in. I think there's something going on where teams know what's coming. Like, it's an unusual case where I actually buy into that they know the pass routes the guys are running, and they can tell from the Lions formations what's coming because they've turned into being way too easy to defend, and there's a lot of regression going on here, and I think it's leading the defensive line knowing when to pin their ears back. I think it's time for a change there, most likely. But there's other things that need to get taken care of, and I'll get to that coming up in a minute with our Champ and Chump nominations, which let's get to right now. Champ of the Weekend, Gator.
The champ is here!
The Champ of the Weekend is Don Brown, Michigan's defensive coordinator. Their defense is sick right now. It's absolutely ridiculously good, and they just went through the 3-game gauntlet, winning 101-27 in those 3 games. There's a bunch of defensive stats, but here's the one that I double-checked on. I saw it there on social media, and it wasn't completely accurate. But so far this year, when opposing quarterbacks go back to pass against Michigan's defense, Michigan's defensive backs have just as much of a chance of scoring a touchdown on a pick six as opposing wide receivers do. 4 touchdowns have gone to opposing wide receivers. Michigan's defensive backs have 4 pick sixes.
Yeah, the one on Saturday was one of the worst passes you'll ever see. And take advantage of it and go through it. And all that happens because they get pressure on the quarterback, and they've done a great job of that. And Don Brown he's absolutely the reason Michigan's in a position where they're at. For me, I'm going to go with the defensive guy, but I'm going to go with Quinnen Williams, the defensive lineman from Alabama. If you watched the game on Saturday night, you saw a clinic put on by a defensive lineman who just flat out dominated. 10 tackles in the game. He had 2.5 sacks, 3.5 tackles for loss. This guy was all over the place. And if you're a Lions fan, you're watching that game, you're going, oh, that guy. Yeah, okay. Well, I know it's another Alabama lineman, but yes, thank you.
Let's get to our chump nominations.
Man, you a
this
chump.
is where I've had it. Enough. Lions special teams coordinator Joe Marciano. The flags on returns are an epidemic. Now, Kyle Meinke tweeted out that the Lions had 12 special teams penalties this year. I'm going to presume that most of those were holding, blocking the back on returns. I don't know, and he didn't specify. They have 24 returns with 12 penalties.
Wow.
They are bottom 10 in kickoff coverage. They have the worst punt return coverage in the league. The Lions special teams is so frustrating. And you know what? I realize there's other things to be mad about. This right here is epidemically bad referendum performances They need to change special teams, period. That I think it's as bad as I've ever seen. Do you expect a flag every return?
Yes.
I do too. Oh, there's a flag. Oh, holding on the return team. No way.
I watch a ton of football every week between Saturday and Sunday. I'm not alone. Obviously, lots of people do it. It feels like sun up to sundown, nothing but football over the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
You see a lot of returns.
Yep.
And it feels like there's a decent percentage of flags on returns. But not 50, not 40. I mean, the Lions, it is an epidemic. It's a real issue with them, and you're 100% right. They gotta have to address it. I was torn with my chump of the week between giving it to the offensive line and giving it to Matthew Stafford. And then I realized if I'm going to blame Stafford for half of those sacks, I'm going to still give Stafford the chump of the week because the other half that were the offensive line's fault, he has such a hand in leading out and pointing out what the protections should be, and they're getting it wrong. So that's all on Stafford. And he was shell-shocked by the end of the game that he just was completely impotent with what the Lions were going to do. The Lions offense as a whole, not one play over 18 yards in the entire game. Not one. That's pathetic. And it starts with the quarterback, and I'm calling him out.
All right, 248-539-9797. Get your Champ and Chump votes in. Champ and Chump of the weekend. Let's go to Will in White Lake. Hi, Will.
Hey, it's good talking to you guys again.
Thank you for calling.
All right, I got a champ and a chump, and then I got a question for Doug.
Mm-hmm.
My champ is Michael Thomas from the Saints. That Joe Horn routine cracked me up pretty good last night.
Yeah, he had 12 catches for over 211 yards and at least one touchdown. And after he scored that touchdown, did you see what he did, Doug?
Yes, he picked up a cell phone from underneath it. Joe Horn did it for the Saints like 20 years ago, and he did the same thing.
Yeah, he went out there and got underneath the cushion from the end zone there. Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway, my chump, I was thinking, I told Evan that my chump would be just the Lions in general, but you guys were talking about Jim Bob Cooter, and it kind of gets my blood boiling, man. You know, it's 3 years in, and this is what we got. We got 9 points and 10 sacks. Like, that is the most inexplicable, irresponsible, unbelievable thing I've ever heard in my life. And just watching that game, it was really frustrating, and I think they need to make a change. My question for Doug, real quick, is all that luck that you talk about we might be having in the future, do you still believe we're going to have it? Thanks, guys.
So people know what he's referencing. I think the Lions have been a victim of their own ineptitude historically, but they've also had some bad luck. And I think when that pendulum swings back, that we're going to have like 60 years of good luck. Do I think it's going to happen eventually? Yeah, I do. When? Not soon enough. 248-539-9797. Ticket text 97136. Read some of your texts coming up today at 1048. I think that there needs to be heat turned up on multiple people on this coaching staff.